Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, Pop Culture Edition. Today, we have our pop culture expert, Chelsea Heppert, with us today. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. You picked the topic on what we're going to be talking about in the world of pop culture. The world came out that way. Don't know why, but it did. But you picked a very interesting topic that just not expands just who we're about to be talking about, but a bigger issue in the world of Hollywood. So, Chelsea, what are we talking about?
We are going to be talking about Katherine Heigl and what it means to be labeled as difficult and what being typecast means and just the general topic. I don't know. Like everything Katherine Heigl. 27 Dresses to Grey's Anatomy.
So what does it mean to be typecast for people who don't know?
So, like, a good example is obviously Katherine Heigl, but also Adam Sandler. Like, it's two different ends, but you play the same character essentially over and over and over again. Like, there's no growth for your career, and people either love you for it or they end up hating you for it. Like, Adam Sandler, he is loved by many people because of his comedies and because of the roles that he's played, but there's no change. You can watch an Adam Sandler movie and walk away going, that was an Adam Sandler movie. Like, that is what he is known to do. And same thing with Katherine Heigl in the early mid-2000s. She was the typical rom-com girl. Like, it was that. There was nothing more that she could give. She wasn't being challenged, and there was no room for her career to grow. And when she tried pursuing other roles, that's when drama kind of came out with Grey's Anatomy, and the reason why she left, or got fired, I suppose. And then that kind of put her into more of a box, so that limited more of her roles.
So Grey's Anatomy, one of the biggest shows of the 21st.
I have been watching it since 5th grade,
so
specifically.
That is 20 plus years.
Yeah.
That's a long time for that show, and it's obviously a lot of people know what the show is. So she had some complaints about the work conditions.
Yes.
Over there. So, like, what were they like? Were they valid complaints, or what were they like?
I think they were absolutely valid, especially, and we'll talk about it. So one of the complaints that she did make, and I think rightfully so, is the long shift times. Not only for the acting crew, but like the film crew and set producers and everyone else, it would be 14 hours plus, like, of just pure working. And that's insane. And to do it back to back to back not only has an effect on your physical well-being, but also your mental well-being. And right now there was a kind of a mini scandal about Euphoria and their long working conditions, and people weren't standing for it. But back when Katherine said this, it was, you're getting paid to be here. Like, why aren't you celebrating that? Like, your role is huge. You're making X amount of money. And it's like, yes, but you also have to advocate for those around you. Like, it's not just about her. It's about that cast and crew and all of the producers as well.
Yeah, and I saw something like where she talked about one of the first days back. They had like a 17-hour work day.
Yeah.
Which I'm not in TV media, so I don't know how long it takes to make one episode, but 17 hours out of 24 does seem a little excessive.
It's insane. And it's not just like what you're filming. It's also like hair and makeup. It's also all the behind the scenes stuff. It's about like blocking. So blocking like where the film is going to take. So like where everyone stands and getting all the camera moves right. Like, it's just a lot. And I mean, I personally have worked very long days before. I think the longest was 12 and a half hours, 12, to 13. And that was horrible. Like, I was so exhausted and like just slept for 2 days. So I couldn't imagine doing that for weeks on end.
But I feel like ever since she made those comments, like, then the difficult label got posted on her.
Well, it was kind of the perfect storm in the sense of that came out, but then she also removed herself from a nomination because she felt that she didn't deserve it, because she didn't think like that the storyline and the acting was that great, because Shonda Rhimes, I believe, nominated her.
And didn't she win the year before?
Yeah, she did win the year before. And she decided not to move forward with it, which is a bold thing to do, because it's not only like you're kind of self-critiquing yourself, but you're also going up against the person who nominated you. And that's both incredibly hard and brave, but also at the same time, it's hard when that person is Shonda Rhimes. Like, she invented TV at this point. Like, she is responsible for so many hits and so many great movies, including Crossroads with Britney Spears and Zoe.
One of your favorite movies.
It's a good movie, but like to go against Shonda Rhimes at that time was insane. So, and she was also snubbing the award as well, like as a whole. And for somebody who had just won it to go back and say, "Oh, I don't want to be nominated for it," like that looks bad publicly. So it was the perfect storm. But we also have to keep in mind the not social media, because it really wasn't real, but the paparazzi and how big of a effect they had on the world. It's the same thing that happened to Britney Spears. Once you get labeled something, and once there's that moment of bad press, that's all people are going to talk about, especially if the press think they can get money on somebody who was essentially one of Hollywood's golden girls. She was on every cover. She was becoming more well-known and having a really great trajectory of being on the small screen, but also making these giant hits. And it would have been fine. And she has been quoted saying this, like, if she would have continued to make money, but have that label as difficult, it wouldn't matter for what. As long as she was bringing in money, like, she could do whatever she wanted and have that reputation.
So because she got labeled difficult in Sandler's in Knocked Up by Jude.
Yeah.
So that's a very hard label to get rid of, because
it is. Because
Hollywood is basically their own version of like high school, like just talking about like relating it to him, like the Easy A movie. Once you're labeled a certain way, you are labeled that way throughout your community, and Hollywood are those people's community. So it's like once it's like, oh, should I hire Heigl? Oh no, you've heard the rumors, man. She's difficult, and like that's stopping you now from making an income. So like, how did she battle back from that, or has she fully been able to battle back, or?
So this kind of ties back to being like a typecast, because then she did start making those movies of 27 Dresses, the movie with Jude, where he was the director, and a few other things as well. But because it was the same old thing, and as a woman, like, she wasn't reinventing herself, so she brought in less money, so then she wasn't getting offered roles and things like that. And she's had a few hit shows over the years, but it's only been 1 or 2 seasons of it. But her newest show on Netflix is probably one of the more promising opportunities for her, because not only is her acting good, but the writing's good, and I think Netflix gives a more controlled platform to kind of step back into the limelight. And she like has also grown as a person too, and she's been trying to rebuild like those fences between her fans and like the public, which is ridiculous that she's even has to do that, but it is what it is. But to also like, because she is a woman and because she was stuck in that role and like couldn't grow, it kind of ties in with Taylor Swift, who has reinvented herself upteenth times. And if you've watched any documentary about Taylor Swift, she'll talk about having to do that, whereas men, you can stay the same and not have to do anything else, but you're going to be bringing in the money, which means you can keep doing it and you're still going to be applauded and this, that, and the other.
I hear you on that. So then recently, like this is actually just recently, some of you know her probably by her doctor name on Grey's Anatomy, Dr. Meredith Grey.
Yes.
Basically the main character of the
Ellen Pompeo.
Ellen Pompeo saying that on her podcast that Katherine was ahead of her time. Like, if she would have said this now, she would have been a hero. This, and that. But Chelsea, it's the same thing with the issue I had with the people who started saying stuff after the Framing Britney Spears documentary came out. Katherine was out for a decade plus. Like, now you saying like she was ahead of her time when she had all those years like dealing with going to therapy and all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
that's my biggest thing. Like, where were you 10 years ago?
Correct. That's a hard one because with Framing Britney Spears, a lot of those people who did come out years later were men. So they could have spoken up in that time and it would have been easier. I hate to say that, but it would have been easier for them. But if Ellen Pompeo had potentially done that 10 years ago, she might not have had a job anymore. And she would have probably been labeled as the same. So I see both sides. I think she definitely should have spoken up. But that's a hard one to draw the line for. But I do agree, like, where were you 10 years ago? Like, you, even if it was just a small nod of, hey, this is what's going on. But at the same time, like, the way that women in Hollywood were treated is vastly different to how they are treated now.
That's true. So not even like, so let's say not 10 years ago. So we're in 2022 right now. If she would, 5 years ago, Ellen was already she was established.
Yeah.
So she could have said this in half the amount of time. That's my thing with like.
Yeah, if she would have spoken up sooner, I don't think she necessarily should have or could have, I suppose, in that moment. But even 5 years ago, I think it would have made a difference.
Because there's new Katherine Heigls being made every day. Like, even in the social media era where if something happens, you get labeled difficult or mean, demanding, or like the age old, like.
I mean, Constance Wu, more recently, she was labeled as being ungrateful because I can't remember what exactly, but her TV show got renewed for another year, and that meant she missed out on a huge role. And she felt her feelings and kind of said something about it, and then she was labeled as that. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. So it's like, it's always going to happen, and with more actresses, like, having a voice, having their own platform, I don't think you need to wait this long to say something if you want to say something, because then it could just, the situation can get worse. I'll miss, now she's owning Jamie Lynn Spears saying something, and her and her sister now hating each other. So, you know.
Yeah.
Just say something.
Exactly.
Say something earlier when you want to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also hard too, because like, if you saw something like that happening, and you were on the same like team, could you speak up? If your boss and your boss's boss could control every aspect of your life and have that huge of an effect, and you also have to look at the mental health standpoint. If you and the rest of the cast are also doing in like that same amount of work hours, and it is becoming that toxic of a work environment, like your own body kind of reverts to protect yourself, and then you don't necessarily like, because I personally have gone through it, like, you don't know who you can trust and you don't know what you can say, because at that point you have to look out for yourself first. Yeah, I feel like that's not even a Hollywood thing. That's a basic like, basic job thing. Yeah, because if it does become toxic, like, it's bad. It doesn't matter the profession, but if you're to that point, like, oy. Yeah, that's tough. That's when it comes down to the leadership and who's running it in the environment, the work environment, if it's an open environment that you feel safe. Yeah, exactly. Expressing your thing. But it's also easier for someone who, if they don't need the place and the place needs them more than you need it, then it's easier to speak out. Like, Halle Berry could say whatever she wants now. Oh, absolutely. Jennifer Lopez could, like in an act, Jennifer Lopez, Angelina Jolie, all of those people could say
whatever they want now. Maybe not. I mean, they all were powerful still 10 years ago, but now it's like...
It's almost revered at this point.
Yeah, so whatever they say goes. So now it's like, what can we do for the younger actresses out there who are trying to get their start?
But then...
They can't say whatever they...
Yeah.
Because once one director says, you don't want to work with this person...
Yep, you're kind of cut out.
It's kind of cut out.
Well, and it's interesting, too, like, with Katherine Heigl calling out the long work hours versus some of the Euphoria extras who are calling out the long work hours. I think there's more of a human aspect now than what there was back then, because if somebody's saying, like, yes, like, this is what happened, like, you're automatically empathetic. Like, you kind of think about what that means, and you know that that's wrong, and you, like, people are more willing to call that out and shame it, whereas back then it was, you have a job, suck it up, like,
right.
This is what's going on. So it's interesting to see how times have changed. Like, if Katherine Heigl would have said that now, she would have been applauded, and she would have gotten more roles and have been considered, like, a pioneer, like, to quote Ellen Pompeo, like, that's what it would have been.
So do you, like, you brought up the suck it up, like, line, and I do think now more than ever, and I know, like, politicians and stuff are preying on it, but I really do feel like there's a bigger gap between, like, Hollywood and, like, normal people. Because, like, because even if Katherine Heigl's thing happened now, you would have the normal people saying, you have to work 17 hours, but you're getting paid $5-10 million an episode. I'm having to work 17 hours, and I'm getting paid $7, and I can't feed my kid. Like,
yeah,
that's where, like, the normal people, like, they're not frustrated at her. They're frustrated at like,
the situation.
At the situation, and it's like, well, you're complaining, and you make... If I was in your situation, I'd be happy as can be, because then I know my kids would be... So I feel like that disconnect is, like,
absolutely
super huge right now.
Well, and if you look at Hollywood, too, there have been a lot of walkouts and unions formed between the crew rather than the cast, because they have been treated so poorly and have had so many incidents where, because they've worked 14 plus hours home, they drove home and fell asleep at the wheel and got hurt or caused an accident, or
worse.
They can't pay for their food because they're working for such a low cost, and they still have to pay, like, for healthcare and things like that, if they are even offered healthcare. So it's crazy, the disparities even in that. And also with the Alec Baldwin situation too, that happened in the fall with the shooting. Like, there's just so many disparities between actors versus the actual, not the actual, because they all work, like, it's all a craft,
right,
but the, like, boots on the ground, if you will, people, because you need both to make a great show, but you have to pay everyone a living wage.
Oh, I agree.
That's 100% a thing.
Anything else you want to say about Katherine?
I don't know. I think if you watch her newest Netflix show, what is it, Firefly Lane? It was actually really cute. I liked it. It's only one season, but it was intriguing. And honestly, at first, I didn't want to watch it because I was like, oh, Katherine Heigl, like, I've only ever seen her in these types of roles. But then after watching it, it's like, no, the girl can act. It's really good.
Okay. Yeah. So before we end, though, I am going to throw you some quick questions, just quick rapid fire, since the fans wanted to get your quick opinions on these. So we'll start off with a nice, soft, easy pitch, work our way up. Okay. Ready?
I mean, sure. I don't like baseball, but I'll play.
Oh, God.
Kim
Kardashian, sex tape, the second one, real or fake? Yes or no?
Fake. It's fake.
Since it's already been cleared, was someone trying to set up A$AP Rocky so that him and Rihanna would break up?
Oh, it was 100% a setup. Everyone's coming after them because Rihanna's happy and glowing. And if you read her Vogue article, God, what a woman.
Slap at the Oscars. Staged? No.
No. I think that was real.
Will Jada capitalize on it?
Yeah, she will. And it's definitely going to come up on a Red Table Talk. And then it's going to be interesting from there.
Will you watch that Red Table Talk?
Mm.
What if she invites Chris Rock? Then I feel like people would think it's staged.
Yeah,
though.
then I would watch it because it would be staged at that point. But I don't think I would watch it if she was just going to talk about it. Just because that situation is messy, and I don't think it should have ever happened.
Do you think celebrities should keep their romances to themselves, a la Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox talking about how they drink each other's blood? I don't think normal people want to hear that.
No, but then you also have to look at Angelina Jolie and what's his face?
Brad Pitt?
No, it wasn't Brad Pitt. It was the guy before him, where she had the tattoo and they they had bad. Their blood in each other's necklaces.
Yeah, that's
so like.
I feel like that's a Hollywood. I've never met a normal person to say they would do that. I feel like that's a Hollywood thing.
Yeah, it's like the super emo. Like, sorry, but it's very unique. It's like the people who are way too into Twilight type of a thing.
That's That's.
I don't know, but if you're gonna be cute and like Shaun White and Nina Dobrev, just like supporting each other like that, I think that's wonderful. But MGK and Megan Fox, I think they do love each other, but it's all for publicity. He's just trying to recover after Eminem, and I like MGK's music.
That's what someone else from the L7C said too, Mitchell Oso. Yeah. He said that he's just recovered, and he was using their real names. So yeah, he's trying to recover from Marshall. You always Kanye and Pete. Are they ever gonna fight?
I don't think they're gonna fight because I think Pete is smarter and a better person than Kanye. But I could see something bad potentially happening. Like if we looked at January, February, early March Kanye, like that's so manipulative and honestly abusive of what he was doing. So I don't think he would do it, but I think he could get somebody to do it. Like fight or cause a ruckus.
Are you gonna watch the new Kardashian? Have you been watching the Kardashian show?
I haven't been watching, mainly because I'm watching a pottery show on HBO. Okay. So no, I haven't been watching. I think that's gonna be a like next winter like cozy pajamas wearing my Skims because I do like her products. They're actually really good.
What happens first? Rihanna's new music coming out or Britney reconciling with her family? Both seem like will never happen.
Rihanna's new music.
Okay.
I have to believe in it.
We haven't had a new album since Work. Since Work with Drake came out.
And Auntie. That was 2016 and the
and
hype
we're
behind that was insane. But also, she has been in the studio and she's been like working, and at one point an album was done, but in her latest Vogue article she said something along the lines of she's just enjoying the process and it feels more authentic to her. So to me that sounds like she's got a good chunk of it done. It just needs like the final touches. But honestly, to quote Cardi B, drop a baby, drop an album, like that rhyme with Ed Sheeran and Camila Cabello, I think that's going to be Bad Gal Riri.
I've just have always been on the thing. It's like she's so successful now outside of music. It's like you don't need to anymore if you don't want to.
No, but music's part of who she is.
It is, but now
it's part of who I am. And I swear, if I don't get to pay money to see her live, I'm gonna cry.
Just think about it. From people who were born in 2016, they're like 6 years old or something now. They don't even know Rihanna is the singer. They know her as like the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that's she's crazy.
She's amassed quite a platform, and it's amazing. And her makeup brand is fantastic. And Savage x Fenty has reinvented, honestly, the lingerie world. Like Victoria's Secret cannot keep up. like it's all about body positivity and like the moment and what feeling sexy is, rather than that one-sided gaze at what sexy is. Because if you've watched the Savage X Fenty shows, like, it's an event. It is an event.
I feel like that's a whole other serious podcast topic, and the Savage thing, that's a fun one, but like the seriousness of what is body positivity and what does it mean to be sexy. Ooh. I feel like that is a good one. A very serious one that we'll have to tackle on. Chelsea, anything else? You got hit with those rapid questions.
I know.
She had no idea those were being asked.
Kind of numb. I don't know.
But you did good. You answered them all.
Look at me.
I mean, you are the pop culture expert of the L7C podcast. So
I know, it's just funny.
We expect great things from you when it comes to this stuff.
Hopefully I managed to achieve those great things.
Well,
I don't know.
I think you're doing pretty well right now. We'll see for all the Chelsea fans out there.
Yay.
But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Thank you, Chelsea, for being back and a full-fledged, full confidence in herself member of the L7C. We'll be back whenever Chelsea wants us to be back. We work for her. So
I know that's right.
Everyone, make sure you like, rate, listen, comment, subscribe anywhere you listen to, and take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.